Hello there again, it's me, Jules Brown again, and welcome to the darkness. And today I am going to be reviewing this. You probably can't see it very well there. I tried the lighting, but it's a bit difficult at the moment. This is a compilation by SPK called Auto de Fe, which was released in 1983 by Mute Records, or at least the grey area of Mute Records, which I suppose is Mute Records when they were releasing some more obscure or darker stuff. That was either on their roster or stuff that had been previously released, and they thought, oh, let's re-release some stuff by some of these industrial bands of yore, and one being SPK. This compilation is an interesting compilation. Auto de Fe, as I said, released in '83. Let me tell you a little bit about SPK, what I know about them. Basically, the two guys who got together, Graham Revell and Neil Hill, worked at a psychiatric hospital in New South Wales in Australia. Now, I've heard contrasting stories about this. One was that they were just work colleagues, and another story that Neil Hill was actually the patient and Graham Revell was the nurse, but I'm not sure about that. I think they just both worked there. So they started out in the mid-70s sometime. And later on in about 1980, they were joined by Dominic Guerin in 1980. All these people had sort of alias names, like initials, like Graham Revell was referred to as EMS, AKS, and Neil Hill was referred to as NE or NE/H/IL. And Dominic Guerin, who joined them later, was known as Tone Generator. This album is basically, you could say, split up into two parts. The first part, the first 5 tracks, are all the tracks that I believe Graham Revell and Neil Hill are the chief people or the writers. Indeed, I think only the first 5 tracks on this compilation Neil Hill actually plays on. And these first 5 tracks on this compilation are incredible pieces of music, in that they're very challenging and quite different from the rest of the album. So the album starts, track number 1, called Contact. Repetitive drums, abrasive chords on the guitar, shouted lyrics, krautrocky in some ways, although there's not that sort of motoric beat at all. Any beat they generate seems to be generated by, it's not an obvious drum sound in a lot of these tracks. It's just there's more of a not a drum, not a traditional drum kit as such. The snare on this track is the drum rhythm. Basically, the bass drum and the snare drum are the same. So the snare drum emulates the bass drum. So it's dum 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 like that. There's an explosive solo of guitars and electronic noises during this track. It's quite incredible. Buzzes along. Extremely challenging opening track. There's an effect on the voice during the latter part of the song, which almost sounds like a Dalek on Doctor Who, and just general industrial, incredible big sounds on the opening track called Contact. Track number 2 is called Germanic, and you get what it says on the tin with this track. This is less song orientated than the opening track. And it sounds, the vocal, it's not vocal, it's just instructional Germanic voice, like a Germanic or German soldier, perhaps. Shouting instructions, shouting words, indecipherable, probably just as lucky enough that they are, really. The guitars chug along. So it does sound political. Obviously, they were influenced by Marx, Neil Hill, and Graham Revell, and and also musically they're influenced by a lot of the krautrock bands like Neu and Can and Faust, and also John Cage. So Germanic, buzzes along, soars, spelled SOARS and SAWS, crashes, distortions, industrial bangs, radio frequency noises in there. Maybe I'm imagining that sounding, windscreen wipers. I'm imagining that, but it's what it sounds like. And a mad guitar solo, which is kind of low in the mix because it's all this amazing industrial noises going on. The Germanic instructions being barked at us. Tribal drumming. Tribal drumming is an interesting one because that is actually something that is a recurrent. It carries on through both the earlier stages of SPK in 1979, and when after Neil Hill left, the drumming became even more tribal, actually. Well, this is their sort of, I suppose, music concrete period, just immense sounds, walls of sound. Then track number 3, Meccano. This is slightly more conventional. Scrapes and noises, though, are still there, and there's percussion, bleep noises, big booming bass guitar in there. Great stuff. Track number 4, probably the most challenging, the most testing to us of all the SPK pieces of music. It's called Retard, and you get this oscillating, reverberating, high-pitched tone at the beginning, an interference, disturbed vocal, very disturbing to us as a listener. Then the guitars come in with this dissonant guitar, some interference noise, disturbed, hysterical singing, just hysterical person, but also it's just an completely angular sound in Retard. Huge. Track number 5, there's the last one that Neil Hill is involved with. It's called Slogan. It sounds like it's recorded underground in a sewer at the beginning or something. All this reverb, distorted guitars, industrial noises. Then it gets going. I don't know where from, but it just gets going. Almost grooving to the industrial complex there. Noise, distortion, dissonance, shouting. He's shouting again. And it shouldn't work, but it does. It's explosions, just menacing, this menacing vocal, sort of post-apocalyptic, I can't even say that, sounding feel to the whole thing. Finding a rhythm, that's what they do. They find a rhythm in white noise, early SPK, and it stops, and a new noise just stops. And a new noise comes in, starts quite not tame, but just slightly tamer, and sends a whole different ball game. And then an industrial groove gets going, just phasered mayhem, rumbling, and this rumbling underbelly, and then it starts, and then at the end there's a little explosion, and then it finishes, and that's the end of the SPK 1979 period. Graham Revell and Neil Hill, the two mates from the psychiatric hospital, and the next, all the remaining songs, there's a 3-year gap. I think in between that time there were like 2 different versions of SPK. Some of them went off to England, while some stayed in Australia. So we had 2 SPKs, but none of that material is on this compilation. We had 2 SPKs, rather like there was 2 Bucks Fizzes or there was 2 Gene Loves Jezebels. There were 2 SPKs for a little while there as well. Track number 6 was called Metal Field, not Metal Dance, Metal Field. Metal Dance is another SPK song. So Metal Field, this is again 3 years later, completely different sound. Neil Hill is gone. Sequencer bass, some sort of atmospheric noise is still there, but it's not nearly so challenging. It's got more of a traditional drum machine sound, more of a clubby feel to it, underground clubby sort of feel, more space in the music, and generally more poppy. You couldn't get less poppy, believe me, than they were before. It's still got a Germanic sounding thing going on. Keyboard line has a hook, which is a new thing. Track number 7, Walking on Dead Steps, still from 82, gated reverb percussion, sampled Germanic speech, cabaret Voltaire meets New Order, maybe, to be simplistic. It gives you a rough idea. And there's this, I wouldn't say dreadful, but the fact it happens so many times, there's a change of key. The sequencer, it seems to be the sequencer that is the key changes. Must be about between 6 and 8 times during the song. Not sure about that, but it's okay. It sounds a bit like, remember early Associates work, the really early stuff. It reminds me a bit of them in some respects musically. Track number 8, A Heart That Breaks in No Time or Place. This is still 82. Atmospheric female vocal on this one. Sounds a bit sadomasochistic or worse. It's a bit more challenging than the previous couple of tracks. But this tribal and ritualistic sort of tribal drumming is in there again, and it seems to be throughout this period of SPK. Track number 9, they're moving forward to 1983 now. This is a track called Another Dark Age, atmospheric, exotic sounding, a huge big bass drum on this one, flanged bass which goes on throughout the track. Tribal drumming, I find this a bit directionless and it sort of loses its way a little bit. Scattergun drumming, scattergun, just all over the place. I find it just lots of drums all over it, a bit overlong. And then track number 10, Twilight. What's this called? Twilight of the Idols. Sorry, I couldn't read my own writing there. 1983 still, chant-based, strange noises, big drums, industrial sounds. There's an organ prevalent in this one. The crashes, tribalistic drums again. Ethereal female backing vocal. Noises and crashes. Reverb drenched. Kind of church organy. I don't mind this one, actually. As you can tell, I'm not so keen on the later tracks on this album, but I'm not so keen on Twilight of the Idols. Quite atmospheric. And the last track is called Culture Side. This is the big tribal drums are there again, and African chanting, kind of religious chanting as well. Industrial clattering noises. I'm almost expecting the panpipes to come in. Sorry about that, but yeah, I'm not so brilliantly keen on that one. So to mark this album out of 10 is very difficult. I'll show you the cover again. There you go. I would give the material, the first 5 tracks when Neil Hill was involved, really challenging stuff, the huge, great industrial sounding stuff. I would give that a 9 out of 10. But the rest of it, I would give probably about 6 out of 10. So to get an average from that, 9 and 6, I'm going to go, you'd go 7.5, wouldn't you? Overall, overall 7.5, 9 for tracks 1 to 5, 6 from tracks 6 to 11. So there is SPK and their compilation album Auto de Fe. Thanks for listening. I'm Jules Brown. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, please do so by pressing the subscribe button and making any comments you wish. And it's been good to have you on board again. And I hope you've enjoyed the twilight zone or the darkness of our front living room and enjoyed the guys back there as well. Anyway, thanks for listening. And next time I'm going to review something completely different again. Look forward to it. Have a good evening. Speak soon.